Good evening, ladies and gentlemen from Dubai. As part of our global summit for recovery and beyond post-COVID era, I today have a very special guest with us and who needs no introduction. He's been my role model, unknowingly also a mentor, and it gives me absolute pleasure today to welcome Dr. Taleb Rifai, the past former Secretary General of UNWTO, and currently I can't even count, I will run out of fingers, the number of organizations that he serves on their board. Welcome, sir, to our platform.
Okay, thank you, Sumera. You're a very fine woman. Thank you so much. I feel very humbled by this introduction. Thank you.
I am humbled to be talking to you today.
Thank you.
Let's get started. So,
please.
Exactly 4 years ago in November, you woke up to the US elections, and you gave a very compelling speech at IIPT, International Advisory International Organization for Peace Tourism, that why people need to continue to travel, and building walls is the worst distraction of history. 4 years later, that chapter is about to end. Share your thoughts.
Thank you so much. That's a very political question, but I'll try to do something about it. I was very, very annoyed when it first happened, when President Trump won the elections, about his initial statement about travel bans. He started his era with travel bans. You don't start your era with any travel bans. Travel bans is against nature, is against history, it's against mankind altogether. People have the right to travel. Travel is not anymore just a luxury. It's not a British or an English or a German gentleman that travels to India or to China, comes back to write a book about it. It's now people's movement. 1/7 of the people, 1/6 of the people of the world today cross international borders every year. So it's a people's movement. Nobody has the right to stop that. So I was very, very annoyed by that. And it was proven right, because the 4 years that followed that were not the best record that the international community has seen from the leadership of the United States. Today, I'm very happy to see that this is about to end, because the people of the US have recognized the fact that it's very, very important for them to catch up with the rest of the world if they want to maintain a position of leadership there. Travel is one of the most crucial things. It so happened now that COVID-19 coincided with the end of the Trump era as well. Now, COVID-19 hit many economic sectors, but it hit the travel and tourism sector the most, because if there is no travel, there is no tourism. So, and travel has stopped completely. So that's how I feel today. I feel we have a chance, we have an opportunity to come out of this. As the Chinese always say, the word opportunity and the word crisis are the same word to them. They use the same word for crisis and opportunity. We have to look at the opportunities that can come out of this. There are plenty of opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very well spoken. As usual, from your heart. Very well spoken.
Thank you.
Dr. Rifai, we are in an unprecedented situation. And in the past, every time, as a tourism travel and tourism veteran, that our industry has been the most sensitive to terrorism. The only time travel and tourism in certain parts of the world has come to its knees is because of terrorism. I don't remember any other incident other than that. Is COVID bigger threat than terrorism?
You're right about the fact that travel and tourism is a very sensitive industry. It's a very resilient one, but it's a very sensitive one. It gets affected immediately. The impact of any crisis on it is a complete stoppage immediately, momentarily. But it comes back to life very, very quickly, much quicker than people think it is. In the last 10, 20 years, there's been 4 or 5 times. After the 201, for example, the Manhattan bombing. Yes. That made 2001 a very bad year, but 2002 already, we doubled what was in 2000. So it came back so quickly. Same thing with SARS 2005. Same thing with the crisis 2008, 2009. Now we're in a deeper crisis. This is a much deeper crisis. simply because travel had stopped completely for unknown. And the unknowns are much more than the knowns. But it will come back. It will come back, I'm sure. Now, it won't come back the same way, the same thing. After 2001, for example, I still remember the days. I'm old enough to remember the days when we used to step out of our cars and go into the aeroplanes directly. No metal detectors, no taking off your shoes, taking off your belts. Now taking off your shoes and taking off your belts is a norm. It's a new norm. Now, COVID-19 will impose some new norms on us, but it's going to be over in terms of travel and tourism. Travel and tourism today is a human right. Nobody has the right to stop it. It won't stop. Trust me on this one.
That's something very profound you have said, that travel and tourism is a human right. So
That's right.
that qualifies that why tourism is so important. So in the same breath, then we can say that it is a pillar of peace. It brings countries together. It brings cultures together.
Of course it is. Of course it does. Look, if you go visit any place, you visit the people, you sit down, you eat with them, you listen to their music, listen to their songs, listen to their dreams. You can't come back with a negative prototype of them. You build the new image of these people. It's the best it's the best asset to bring people together and cultures together, without doubt. But the fact is that we need to make sure that that happens. We're aware of it. Because many tourists go to places, they don't even interact with the people of that place. The walls between local communities and the visitors must be lowered, definitely. This is one of the things that COVID may have brought to us as an opportunity now. You mentioned terrorism now. Terrorism is just one of the elements that creates a crisis. It's a man-made crisis. Natural disasters, health pandemics. We have found out throughout my years in UNWTO that health pandemics are the most serious ones because people don't go to places they don't know what's going to happen there. With terrorism, political issues, you can still take a risk and manage to do that. People still travel to some of these places, some of the gutsy people. But when there is a health problem, people just don't travel because they know they can't resist it. So the health pandemic is one of the most serious ones in crisis categorization.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, but just the sheer scale of COVID-19 is unique in the sense that there are generations around the world who are experiencing this, who perhaps have never lived through a natural disaster or a health pandemic of this nature. So there in itself, it's a very unique experience. How do you think that's going to change tourism in the post-COVID era? Is there a silver lining to this crisis?
Definitely. But let me just remind you of one thing. If you were born in 1900, you'd have lived much more crisis than this one, of which the flu crisis. You'd have gone through the First World War, the Second World War. But this generation, of course, is going to suffer from COVID-19. COVID-19 is an opportunity, as I said. It's an opportunity for us to revisit ourselves. For example, one of the most important issues there is the importance of domestic tourism. You know, in the United States or Europe, 70 to 75% of traffic is domestic travel. Only us, the people in the developing world, we don't believe in domestic tourism. We've jumped directly into international tourism because we always think of a tourist as somebody coming from another planet, a blonde with blue eyes person coming to us and so cherished, so welcome, so respected. The people of the country never got to know the country. This is an opportunity now for people to readjust this. It's not just a matter of need, it's a matter of principle to me. A country that's not enjoyed by its own people, not traveled in by its own people, cannot and should not be enjoyed by anybody else outside the country. We have to first start with our own selves. This is an opportunity for domestic tourism now to take a lead in this. It's an opportunity. Now domestic, yeah, go ahead.
That's the silver lining.
That's right.
To experience our own backyards.
That's right. Another issue here is the issue of climate change and sustainability. We're definitely embarking on a more sustainable era post-COVID. How's that? People will not go into crowds anymore. They would like to go to places where they're more with themselves, with nature, with less people. We would interact with people, but not the crowds anymore. These crowded areas, the concept of over-tourism that we have witnessed in so many parts of the world will probably disappear now. So that's another silver lining there. We have to be very careful of. A third element I'd like to mention here is the issue of digital nomads. I don't know if you've heard of that term. Digital nomads are people that go to work anywhere and around the world. Technology now has made us digital nomad. I'm from Jordan, but I'm living now in the south of Spain as a digital nomad. I'm making this interview with you from the south of Spain. So I'm a nomad. I'm a traveler. I come here, I don't stay for a day or two, I stay for a month or two, which is very important. Because instead of having hotels and people cater for 10 people in one night, you have one night, 10 nights with one person. That's much more important than, because longer stays now are becoming more fashionable. People are traveling all over the world. You can work from anywhere you want, as long as there is good internet, right, good connections. Doesn't matter where you are. Here you and I are speaking. You're in Dubai and I'm in Spain.
Absolutely.
And we're as if we're together. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So these are some of the advantages. So countries are still struggling. Travel and tourism is still struggling. We've seen many jobs, just falling apart. Businesses falling apart. It's tearing through the heart of travel and tourism, this pandemic. And just recently, as recent as last week, we've had two companies come forward. Two vaccines have been announced at 95% success rate. And but do you foresee that things will start returning to normal very soon? When?
Let me start by the vaccine issue. I think vaccine has been overrated. It's been even used for political reasons. I don't care much about the vaccine. What I care about is the testing now. Vaccines could develop tomorrow or the day after. They won't. It takes time to do that. I'm not going to wait and keep everything on hold until the vaccine proves itself. Vaccine is just an added immunity. I personally will not take a vaccine. I have some sensitivity towards that. But I would take tests. I think we should concentrate more on testing, and more testing. More fast, more cheap, more available and affordable testing. That's the most important thing now. The vaccine will come when it comes. When it comes, it's good to have it, of course. But the treatment is the most important. The Koreans have identified 3 T's: testing, tracing, and treatment.
That's the 3.
Vaccine is not there. Yes, the 3 T's. Okay. This is what's most important. Now, when do I expect this to come back? Now, there's no time for this. But definitely what we need to do, as you said, we need to keep our businesses alive first. There are 3 stages to this. Stage number 1 is keeping businesses alive. And to do this, you need to be more imaginative and think outside of the box. Some governments are pumping direct money. Some governments are giving loans. Some others are simply trying to find other alternative jobs for the people that lost their jobs. And there is plenty of that to go around. But we have to keep our businesses alive for a year or 2 at least. That's a very important thing. Then we start immediately, or in parallel with that, we start with domestic and regional tourism. Then we go into international tourism. Don't jump directly into international tourism. That's not going to happen. So basically, we need to keep our businesses alive. That's very important. Now, thank you.
Okay. That's a very profound message you are giving, that keep the businesses alive, but innovate. And I think there has to be some shift in leadership styles as well for organizations who work with certain methodologies. Everybody has to reinvent themselves because there's going to be a new way of thinking. But do you think that era of mass tourism is gone and done with? Because whilst human beings are very resilient, but at the same time they have very short memory span as well. Do you think that post-COVID people will as in when the travel and tourism does happen, will return back to old habits?
I don't think so. But let me respond to the first part of your question, which is very important. Today, the international system is falling apart, unfortunately. When we started talking, you started to explain to me a little bit about your role with WTTC and UNWTO. Now look at the EU, look at the UN altogether. You can't hear their voices anymore because the whole system is falling apart. The whole system can't cope with that. But we need an organization like yours, like ours here, the one we're meeting with. It's bringing the pieces together. The world is going to rebuild itself from bottom up,
Right.
block by block. Because each government now is acting on their own. There's no international body that brings everybody together now. Say, let's agree on this protocol or that protocol or this certification or that certification. So basically, what's happening now is a reconstruction of the old system into a new, more fair, more equitable system. This more fair, more equitable is going to be more sustainable. After all, sustainability is not just about the environment. You know that. Sustainability is to sustain life on Earth. To sustain life on Earth, you need to have people living. You can't just freeze everything. People have to move around. There is social and economic and environmental sustainability. All three must work together. So yes, I believe that people will rethink their ways of gathering together after post-COVID. If there is anything called post-COVID, there is a new norm that's developing, and this new norm will, without doubt, be different from the old one. There will be no over-tourism per se, as such. There will be more careful, more responsible tourism. We've learned the lesson the hard way. We've paid the price very high. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's on that profound note. I think the message I'm getting is that the world, more than the vaccine, needs travel and tourism to heal, to come together. But that
That's
coming
right.
together will be very different now. You know, it will.
Yes.
So, okay. That on that note, I say thank you to you. Thank you so much for being on our platform.